Hey, real estate investors. I want to tell you today about how you can have asset protection, tax strategy, and estate planning all in one cohesive system. We're helping people nationwide put these things together so that way they never have to worry about them ever again. Best of all, we're saving people millions of dollars in taxes and saved fees while being able to keep them anonymous and protected. So join me in today's presentation. I'm going to show you a little bit more about how we can do that for you. So a little bit about me, guys. My name is Scott Royal Smith. I'm an attorney as well as real estate investor. I actually started in real estate investing while I was in law school. I started to work for the district attorney and in the trial courts as well as the appellate courts, then went on to sue insurance companies. Found out I was actually making more money doing real estate investing part-time than I was being an attorney. So what do you think I did? I went back to real estate investing, started to scale up my real estate investments just like you're trying to do right now. What did I find out though? Man, it is hard. There's a lot to know between the accounting, the bookkeeping, the entity structuring, the trust, the estate planning. Everything got so confusing. So what I did is I read all of the books. I went to go talk to the people that wrote the books. They viewed me as a colleague, not a client, and they shared with me all of the secrets. What I did is I put together a system for myself, and then pretty soon at the meetup groups I went to, people started to ask me, hey, Scott, what are you doing? I started to tell them about it, and they asked me to help them put together the system that I had put together for myself. And wouldn't you know it, that I accidentally started a law firm that turned into Royal Legal Solutions that now has over 30 members to the firm. I'm talking about attorneys, paralegals, administrative staff, tax professionals, everything that real estate investors need, all in a one-stop shop. And I'm happy to share a little bit about with you our philosophy here today to see if we're a good fit to do business together. So as I mentioned, I had a friend that lost over $3 million from a frivolous lawsuit. And this is what keyed me off to saying asset protection is one of the most important things that we can do. And these are the risk factors that I've diagnosed from working with thousands of real estate investors all over the country, having great people on my show like Rod Cleef, Grant Cardone, all coming onto the Real Estate Nerds podcast and sharing with me what did they do for their asset protection. And if you look at these risk factors, see if any of these apply to you. If they do, you might want to consider taking steps to be able to protect yourself. So the number one risk factor is owning properties in your personal name. Solely relying on insurance is a big risk factor. In fact, my friend who lost over $3 million thought that his insurance was going to be enough, and it turns out it wasn't, because insurance only protects you against one type of claim called negligence. It doesn't protect you against anything else. He had a breach of contract action because he had signed a contract, just like I'm sure you're signing contracts every day. The net result is that he lost over $3 million when he thought the insurance was enough to protect him. All right, let's move on down the list. We also look at lack of compartmentalization. That means, are all of the assets in one bucket? If you own everything in your personal name, you don't have any compartmentalization. Everything is all together. Guess what you also don't have? The next risk factor. That's lack of anonymity. Everything is your personal name. So they know that you're a good target to sue before they even start the lawsuit, unless you're anonymous. The other thing that happens that we see as a risk factor is the personal exposure to lawsuits. What this means is that you're signing contracts, you're sending emails, you're doing it all in your personal name. That means if anything goes wrong, and guess who they're suing? You. You need a barrier between you and the rest of the world to make sure that lawsuits can't blow back on you. And there's one little sneaky risk factor here that separates really good asset protection strategies from all of the rest. And that's simplification. Having too many LLCs and bank accounts to keep track of mean that you're likely going to make an error. Every error that you make is a chink in the armor. You need simplified processes, not only just to save you time and to save you money, but also to ensure that things are being run correctly, so that way you don't have any gaps that they can exploit. All right. Big lesson, guys. Rich people don't own things and they don't pay taxes. Out of all the real estate investors that I've worked with and the A-list celebrities that I get to hang out with inside of my podcast and inside of the group coaching calls that we do at Royal Legal Solutions, they don't own things and they don't pay taxes. And you don't have to either if you're smart. But you got to be smart and you got to take the proactive steps, and we're here to show you how you can do that. But the number one thing you got to have to be smart is you got to have a plan. So if you have a plan, your plan needs to include a couple of things. It needs to include how you're going to achieve financial freedom, how you're going to achieve your time freedom, how you're going to protect your assets, and how you're going to build your legacy. So what I've developed here on this screen, guys, is I call this the Freedom Temple. This gives us our first plan of what we need to focus on to be able to achieve the time freedom, the financial freedom, and the personal fulfillment that we're looking for. First thing we got to look for is the wealth creation. We need to maximize the amount of wealth that we're trying to go after. You can look at that as total ROI, your return on investment. You can also look at it as what is your ROI per hour spent. How many true dollars are you making for each hour of your time? When you can maximize that dollar figure, now you're really leveraging your time to create bigger wealth. Second thing we got to look for is tax strategy. We got to keep the government from stealing our money. They're the biggest thief out there. And without a tax strategy in place, you're just opening up your piggy bank and letting the government come in and raid it. The next thing we have to do is protect ourselves from frivolous lawsuits that are out there. Just like my friend who lost over $3 million from a single lawsuit, he didn't have any asset protection in place besides the insurance. And there's so much more to good asset protection, like anonymity, understanding the liability, separating the operations or the active parts of your business from the asset holding parts of your business structure, and compartmentalizing the assets. That means holding each asset in such a way that if there's ever a lawsuit against one asset, they can't go after any of the other assets and they can't come after you. And if anybody tries to come after you, they can't go after anything that you own. It's so powerful that it stops lawsuits before they even start. Next, we look at time leverage. How do we increase the sophistication of our systems and our processes to be able to maximize the amount of free time that we have? And then lastly, we look at our legacy planning. And our legacy planning is, what are we doing this all for? Eventually, these assets are going to serve the purpose that we need them for, and we have to look to how are we going to pass them on in a way that's going to leave the impact in the world that we want to have. Now, what I found from my Real Estate Nerds podcast, interviewing guys like Grant Cardone, Rod Khleif, Brandon Hall, and all the other A-list celebrities that are out there in the real estate investing space, is that they focused on these top levels of the Freedom Temple. They're nailing it, right? And what does that leave them with at the end of the day? It leaves them with the time and energy to focus on personal fulfillment. So when we conquer these other aspects of our life and we're doing them right, what it means is we now have the energy to become the best version of ourselves. And at the end of the day, that might be what this whole thing is really all about. But in the meantime, let's just go ahead and conquer the temple, because those are the things that we know that we can objectively control from day one. So what are the key elements that we see time and time again that leads people to amazing success in real estate? Number one, they have to have a written plan. A written plan is everything. I'm not sure why it works, but it seems like every successful person that I ever run into has a written plan and swears by it being the most powerful thing in their arsenal that they do. Second, they have to have the right tools to succeed. Without the right tools, what happens is you spend a bunch of energy, you don't go anywhere. Why? Because you don't have the tools that can take that energy and help you reach the objective. If you ever feel frustrated, you're using the wrong tools. Number three, you have to have a team or a guide or a mentor to support you. Why? Because every decision that you've made in your life, you thought was a great decision at the time that you made it. Otherwise, you wouldn't have made that decision. However, we know from 2020 hindsight that not all decisions are great. So what can you do? Well, if you have a mentor, a guide, or a support system in place, they can tell you that, oh, of all of the options you can see on the table now, all of those thousands of options, the great ideas that you think you have, there's three that are actually good ideas. So let's do those three time-tested ideas first before we go to any of the other ideas. So among the journey that we have together in our relationship between yourself and Royal Legal Solutions, you're Luke Skywalker. This is your journey that you're going to live. And we are Yoda. We're here to guide you and to support you in that journey, just like that mentor or guide. And we have to look for the things that can thwart us in our journey. That's Darth Vader. In this case, that's the frivolous lawsuits, those frivolous litigation attorneys that are out there that can rear their ugly head out of nowhere and end up wiping out everything that we own. So let me tell you guys a little bit about how we end up supporting you as the Yoda to your Luke Skywalker, as it were. And the way that we do this is the same way that billionaires get supported by their own team. So billionaires have teams of 15 to 20 people that work around the clock just to manage their money, right? They call it a family office. And what I'm introducing to you is a royal family office. This is a family office that's built for the needs of billionaires, but designed specifically for you, the average investor that's looking to scale their portfolio and achieve time freedom, financial freedom, and personal fulfillment. So the first thing that we have as a family office is all of my network. The network that I've had to build to be able to build my own real estate and achieve my own financial freedom, I pass it on to you. Title companies, 1031 exchange companies, ways to monitor your information to ensure that the information that you have out there doesn't expose you to lawsuits, tax-specific CPAs, asset protection strategies, whole life insurance policies, liability insurance, legacy planning, funding and loan brokerage, IRA and 401k custodianships, wealth building strategists, real estate coaching, and a private deal network. All of this is available to you as a member of Royal Legal Solutions as part of our one-stop wealth network. We also have the family office pieces that can go directly to what are the services that you're going to need. What we have here is we have a custom diagram of your structure, including the legal and tax structure, a secure client account to be able to hold and organize all of your documentation for you. If you were to pass away, this is where people go to get that documentation and have an attorney there from day one to be able to help them with those next steps. We give you a personal dedicated advisor to help guide you through the information. If you see over here that we also give you access to this 6+ years of a master FAQ, which the accumulation of over 3,000 questions that I've gone through and my career for all types of real estate investing all over the United States. This is the bedrock that your personal dedicated advisor uses. This is the person that also knows your objectives, knows the struggles that you're having right now that you need to overcome, and what information, support, and resources we're able to give you to help overcome those challenges. We also give you 2 billable hours with our legal team to ensure that you're going to have the legal support you need for anything they're doing, talking about contract reviews, updating your estate plan, whatever the case may be. We take care of all of the entity compliance and maintenance for you, including the registered agent, annual filings, etc. We also do a biannual review with you, frankly, because we don't trust you. We don't trust you to do it right. And it's with good reasons, because most people screw it up whenever they do it on their own. So what we do is just like a doctor. We do a physical with you about your taxes, your finances, your investments, everything from start to finish, so you know that along the way you're doing it all correctly. You also have the opportunity to deposit funds inside of the Royal Bank at a 5% interest for any of the retirement funds that you have. So if you have money sitting on the sidelines, or just sitting inside of a bank account, or sitting inside of a retirement account and not doing anything, you can deposit those funds with us and we'll pay you a 5% interest rate for any of the funds that you have. So you never have money not working for you. This is the fastest way to financial freedom. Ensure that every dollar you have is a soldier that is doing work for you out in the field. These next steps are all about how you can get access to the best information out there. That's through our Real Estate Nerds podcast. I've had all of these guys on my podcast: Grant Cardone, Rod Cleef, Brandon Hall. They've all come onto my podcast. And the members of Royal Legal Solutions and members of the family office are actually invited to these podcasts to be able to participate in the podcast. You get access to higher level people than you've ever had before. This is also true in our large group wealth, business, and tax coaching. We invite superstars come in to present about the things that they makes them amazing and what they do, and there's an open Q&A afterwards for all of our members to be able to participate in that conversation as well. And then how do we be able to share the most cutting edge strategies we're learning about as a community, that I'm learning about as myself as an investor, because I still actively invest? This all comes into our private Facebook investor group. This is where the conversation is happening. And it's also where you're able to select on who do you want to come in to be the next guest as a coach, on Real Estate Nerds as a community, so that way you guys can decide what the network is that we really need as investors. So I want to be able to make sure that we're also a good fit and see if you're a single family investor. I want you to know that these are the other people that we've worked with that have raised their hand and said, hey, listen, if people want to reach out to us, we can vouch for Royal Legal Solutions being an amazing company that's done amazing things for us. I just want you to see in here, right? We have guys like Axel up 9 properties and he's looking to retire. You know, Brendan is just sitting pretty at 9 properties as well too. Edwin has 1 property, he's looking to get 10. These are their actual LinkedIn profiles that you can see that they've left for us, as well as the recommendations that they've posted. A lot of these guys are coming from bigger pockets, right? They're located throughout the country, through California and Texas, and other places as well. And you can guys see that there's just pages and pages of these people for you guys to go check out, including full case studies and video testimonials that we're able to share with you guys, so you can really get a deep feel once you're in contact with us of who are the types of investors that we're helping, and make sure that we're a good fit. If we're not a good fit, let's not do business together, right? If we are a good fit, we're going to be able to create amazing things together. So when you contact us, this is just a brief menu of some of the most popular things that people look for to talk with our advisors about. As you can see, these are things like asset protection, personal protection. How do you buy and sell properties inside the entity structure? How does the flow of money work? How to do the tax reporting? How can I use equity stripping to pull all of the equity out of my properties? How can I use domestic and offshore trusts for the ultimate protection? How does estate planning work in conjunction with all of the asset protection I put in place? How do I effectively use tax deductions to be able to minimize the amount of taxes I'm paying, and which ones will impact my ability to do financing and which ones won't? What are the tax savings vehicles I can use for the solo 401k, self-directed IRA, 529 plans, the real estate professional designation? How can you use whole life insurance policies as kind of like a rich man's IRA able to help avoid taxes? How can you use a home equity line of credit to be able to pay off your primary residence within 7 years? Guys, this is entirely possible. And these are the strategies like great guys like Dave Ramsey is talking about. And what does it look like to have a complete diagram of the structure? What does this look like visually when it's all put together? When you contact our advisors, they're going to be able to share this type of information with you. What do you need to do to be able to take advantage of the amazing information that we have that can transformationally change the next steps of your life? Here's what it looks like. One, take the quiz that we have. It's going to give us all the information we need to be able to have a meaningful conversation with you. Two, meet with your advisor to go over those quiz questions. Look at the types of roadblocks and obstacles that you're having right now in your life, and allow us to be able to share with you some introductory information at no obligation to be able to help you solve at least one major challenge in your life, so you can know that we're a good fit before we ever formally jump into business together. Number three, in that challenge, in that discussing that challenge, that obstacle in your life, go as deep as you want to go. Share with us as much information as you can or that you want to. The more information that you share with us, the more likely it is that we're going to be able to come back on the very first try with a solution that's going to knock your socks off on how we can help you solve that problem. Number four, let's tackle that first roadblock together to be able to see what are the solutions that you need to put in place. And maybe it's something that we can do for you. Maybe it's something you can do on your own. Maybe it's something that it's best suited to have local counsel or somebody else do on your behalf, all depending on what it is. Number five, if we're a good fit and we've delivered overwhelming value to you, let's formalize a relationship. Let's bring you into the family office. Let's work on being able to create that time freedom, that financial freedom, and that personal fulfillment that you've been looking for. So thank you guys so much for joining me here today. I'd encourage you to take the next steps, take the quiz, and be able to schedule your appointment with your advisor and look at what next steps look like.